And welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Top of the line tools, building materials for your next home improvement project. They've got them both. 100 years and 4 generations of history. Folks, if you are a do-it-yourselfer, if you've got a home improvement project, this is where you start, this is where you finish. A.G. Hines Company, not only do they have the right stuff for you, they have the right winter stuff for you. Because if you're doing a project right now, it's got to be winterized materials, and they've got it. But also, just their expertise. You don't do it for this long without being able to tell somebody, hey, this is what you need, not that. That is what you need, not this. A.G. Hines Company will do that for you. Check them out at aghines.com. Okay, Tennessee's defense is historically good, They have now held 11 teams to 50 or fewer points, which is just crazy. The Athletics, Dana O'Neill, was in town this past week. And like all national writers, she got a lot more access than any of the local media. So let's take a look at some of the things she wrote. You don't have to read along, but I wanted to put it up there just so you're not listening to me read. I'm not going to read all of it. But part of it is the Volunteers do not merely boast the top defense in Ken Pomeroy this season. They own the best defense since Pomeroy started analyzing the numbers in 1997. Per College Basketball Analytics, Tennessee sits in the 100th percentile of no less than 7 defensive categories, 90th or better in 11 more categories. So 18 categories across defense, they're in the top 90%. Teams can't score against them or shoot against them, not inside or outside. They can't pass the ball and they can't control it. And you've got all the numbers there to back it up. Only 3 teams have scored 70 or more points against Tennessee this year, and only 5 players have scored 20 or more points. During a recent post-game film study, the Volunteers' goals, which were holding their opponent to under 40% shooting, limit them to less than 7 three-pointers, allow less than 65 points, achieve at least 7 sacks, which is what they consider 3 consecutive stops, and cataloging at least 35 deflections in the game. Well, they did all of those. Yet for a good hour after the game, Barnes harps on the Vols' lazy start, how they allowed 2 easy buckets on the first 2 possessions, never mind that Georgia never led after 6-4, that Tennessee won by 29, and that all but 3 players wound up with good scores. Not good enough, Barnes says over and over again. It seems exhausting, persnickety even, but Barnes is hardwired that way. Then, the exchange for such heavy concentration on defense can, of course, be an offense that is sometimes less than scintillating. For as good as the defensive numbers are, the Vols' offense is pretty pedestrian. It's bitten them against Kentucky and against Florida. And then more on the defense here, but the real motivator is the same for every player in a Tennessee uniform. We need to switch the graphic to the next graphic. There we go. Playing defense is the first and only way you're going to get on the court, Josiah Jordan-James says. One play you don't box out or go to the glass, he's coming to get you. A few plays you get scored on, he has a very short leash when it comes to the must-haves. Guard your yard and rebound. And then finally, the last graphic. In film, there are conversations about offensive schemes, but the bulk is on defense, breaking down plays and tendencies to eliminate surprises, but mostly going over again and again mistakes and ways to get better. Essentially, it all boils down to a gladiator battle, you versus your man, who's going to win. Help is there, but in an ideal world, a Vol doesn't need it. Okay, defense. They even get into recruiting and what they look for in terms of recruiting, and it's what traits they see where they can figure out, okay, how can we turn this into defense? Because in high school, kids don't play defense. His idea is sound. If the other team doesn't score, they can't beat you. I would argue, but if you can't score, you can't beat them. Is the focus, the hell-bent, crazy focus on defense, which is winning, got them number 2 in the country, is that detrimental at all to the offense, Mark Pankratz?
Well, I think anything that you emphasize and you spend the vast majority of your time is going to depreciate the other aspects of the program. So, yes, it does hinder their offense. And this has been Barnes' MO from his Providence and Clemson days. He's always been a defensive guy. He's tried to give the assistant coaches more power on the offensive side. But we all know as a player, if the head coach is focused on defense, like I'm trying to make sure the head coach who decides my playing time, that I appease him and I'm not as worried about the offense. I do think on the offensive side, Barnes has said a lot this year, shoot your open shots. Mm-hmm. Like he's empowering them, and I like that He gives guys more freedom on offense, but he's got the guys. Like Olivier struggles at times because he can't handle Barnes being on top of him, like hounding him all the time. And that's his style that hinders him sometimes offensively because he gets into his head. But I will take the defensive and what he's built with this program, because that also, you've seen the discipline on the defensive side lead to no off the court issues either.
That's true. That's true. Ryan, Chuck, he's going to the Hall of Fame with this approach. He's beaten Texas, Kansas, Auburn, Maryland this year with this approach. He keeps Tennessee in the top 10 pretty much all the time with this approach. Yet when I go to social media during and after a game, and my phone's blowing up from friends and family saying this is horrible to watch, people still don't like it. Is that fair when you win with it? Is it just the win? Is that all you need? You said it earlier. Ugly win beats a pretty loss. You stick to that. Is there any room for complaining, or do you say shut up and enjoy the win?
No, there's room for complaining. I feel like if Rick Barnes was going to get into talking about defense, he could do a thesis on it. It would be like War and Peace. When he starts talking about offense, it's like he's sending out a tweet. It's get the ball down the court, try and throw it inside. You don't have to score, kick it back out. And here's the thing, guys. We've been down this road before, haven't we? This approach gets you so far. Does it get you past the Sweet 16? And that's when you see another team have a rim protector. They've got a guy that can score inside, and Tennessee has one of those 7-minute droughts, and you're behind by double digits.
Right.
I personally don't know that the approach to defense and spending so much time on it is detrimental, but I do wonder if the way they recruit and emphasize that in recruiting affects you not getting the types of elite offensive players that you need sometimes. I don't feel like I see enough emphasis from them on finding shooters. And maybe that's a widespread problem in the college game. A lot of slashers these days, not so many shooters. But that's where I wonder if it affects things, if you're focusing too much on getting a certain type of player who's going to be able to guard every position and not getting a guy who can just knock down a shot when you need to.
On the recruiting side, Kenny Chandler, 5-star, Josiah Jordan James, 5-star, Julian Phillips, 5. He's actually recruited well above what I thought he would with this defensive focus. And when kids come to practice and they see how he is on the guys in practice and how he holds them so accountable, I think he's crushed it in recruiting.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the question
In terms
to your
of
point,
shooting though, go ahead.
being able to shoot from the they're the leading 3-point.
We'll get into
right.
Well, yeah, the numbers.
They were. But the other side is the question has always been, who is that guy at the end of the shot clock that can go make a play and be able to make a one-on-one move? Josiah's starting to become that guy, but that's been the thing that they've not had.
Okay. We're good.
Yeah.
We got to move on. We're over about 18 minutes. When we come back, let's bring somebody out here who's more of a Vol basketball fan. Although, how can you be more of a Vol basketball fan than Chuck? But we got somebody who's more of a basketball, doesn't love the game, but pulls to the Vols and the basketball thing. So we'll get his take. Is a win enough, or do you need the entertainment to go with it? Come on back on the Sports Source.
Away from home? Watch the Sports Source live at WATE.com.